Let's get ready to rumble!
Yep. Hello. Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that is back after a week off. Don't worry, Taiwo, we are back. We're not abandoning you. We're giving you a podcast to listen to this week. That's back after a week off because somebody had a first birthday, essentially. Someone had a first birthday. It clashed with our recording last week, so we didn't do that. That did not happen. My name is Tosin. I am your host, and I am in the Midlands in the UK. And joining me, as always, on the Isle of Wight, for those of you who do not know, it is a small island off the coast of the UK, of the south coast of the UK. Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hi, yeah.
Yes, cool. Now, another reason I think why we haven't actually done while we've been away for a week is because this is something that we talk about on this show. So for those of you who haven't heard this show before, it's called Netflix versus Cinema. What we do is we go to the cinema and we watch 3 things in the cinema. We watch 3 things at home. We rate everything out of 5 and we see where money has been better spent this week. We have realized since we started doing this podcast that there is a particular phenomenon where it's like the big film phenomenon. When a big film gets released, everybody else runs scared for at least 2 weeks. So a Marvel movie gets released and then that's it. You have nothing new in cinemas for 2 weeks. Now, we had James Bond that was released 2 weeks ago, and we've had
Bond bounce.
Yeah, and we had like nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, I know, nothing new.
And if you listen to this podcast regularly, you know that when I say we have nothing, we really mean that, because we have Shaun. We have a Shaun, and Shaun will hunt down films in the back end of nowhere that are showing and come and say, oh yeah, I saw this film. I'll be like, I didn't even know it was being released. And even Shaun, in a week in which there wasn't that much football, there wasn't that much else going into, couldn't find anything to watch. So that's how you know, well and truly, people are running scared from James Bond, from Daniel Craig's final acting as James Bond. So what we're going to do this week is we've already reviewed it, but that was just me because I was the idiot that went to see it in a midnight showing, so I was the only one who had seen it at that point. Since then, Shaun and Sharon, I believe you have watched that film.
Both seen it. We saw it together.
You did. We did. Yes.
Okay, cool. So you're good. So we're gonna get feedback. Going to get stories. What you guys thought about it. We're gonna have a debrief. We're gonna have a Bond debrief. what you guys a bit like, it's like I'm M, you guys are the 00 agents. You come tell me what happened. come tell me why that thing blew up. All right, and also we'll have like a quick run through what it is that we've been walking at, what it is we have been watching at home. So first of all, let's go with that. Is there anything particular you guys have been watching at home?
I've watched so much stuff. I've forgotten what I've watched. I've watched
that is a usual state of things.
That is the usual thing. Yeah, I did just watch today, which I did watch a terrific Korean film called Deliver Us from Evil.
Oh yeah,
that was on Sky, which was pretty good. On Netflix, I saw I Am All Girls. And I've been watching The Walking Dead. So that's stuff, but we can't do that until we've watched the whole
yeah, that is
series.
True. That is one of our rules. If you're going to bring a TV series, you have to watch the whole season before you come and review it.
I've rewatched Heat because that's just great. That's one of the best. That's probably my favorite heist movie. What else did I rewatch? I rewatched Greyhound. And Midway a couple of times, or Midway I watched the whole way through, and then the odd bits again. So
you've been having a bit of a World War II loving.
Yeah, a bit of a World War II loving, and I've been watching a lot of stuff on YouTube. I've been watching like loads of vloggers about different places opening at different times, what's going on with the world, with restrictions in countries, and now they're all being lifted and stuff. And
because you're plotting your escape from the UK again, aren't you?
I am, yeah. But the trouble is, when you go on YouTube, you get taken down rabbit holes, and I just ended up, I watched stuff like super carriers with Chinese aircraft carriers take on, with the Chinese fleet be able to take on a combined American. There's this thing called Binky's Battlegrounds, which is like a Russian. He goes, I'm here today to talk about what would go on if, Japan invaded, I don't know, China. So all those sort of weird and wonderful things, and all sorts of stuff, really.
I always feel like
another thing, Al Murray. I've been watching Al Murray because he's like a comedian.
A comedian.
And I read this book a long time ago. It was Watching Movies with My Dad. he's a real World War II aficionado, and the book is a brilliant book. I've got him. In fact, it just reminded me the book. Watching movies with my dad just reminded me of. So he's a good author. I quite like him. And also from that, because he's into World War II, he did like the Bovington, his top 5 tanks of World War II.
Is this all Al Murray?
This is Al Murray. He did his top 5 tanks, and then he did his 5 bottom tanks, and they were the same tanks. It was really, really good. So he was going through, he said, "Oh, everybody loves a Panther. I'm going to be hated for this, blah, 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 blah." And then, but they're all the same. So the first my top 5 tanks, the Churchill that, and then he had them as his top 5 bottom ones as well. So
is this where we find out that there are only 5 tanks?
So yeah, so I've been a bit of a, well, I couldn't be called a couch potato because I haven't actually been sitting on the couch, but I've been doing odd bods. Oh, and I put a couple of things on eBay, so which took me like a whole afternoon just to do one.
It's not easy to list things anymore.
No, and I just thought, I don't know if I can be bothered with this. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so,
all right. Okay. Cool,
anyway,
cool,
sorry.
good stuff. I am intrigued about I Am All Girls just by the title alone. How about you, Sharon? What have you watched?
Yes, I saw a film that again missed the cinematic release and so went straight to a platform called Chaos Walking.
Oh yes.
Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley.
Oh yeah.
So I saw that. I've dipped my toes into the edge of Squid Game, but I haven't watched it all because I know that's making waves.
Yes, Squid Game.
Netflix circles.
Yeah.
So I've just watched the beginning, but it took me ages actually to work out how to get it in the original language rather than dubbed. So because I just don't like dubbed films. If it's made in Korean, I want to hear it in Korean and I want to get the expression because it's in their own language. When someone dubs it, it just sounds ridiculous to me, and it really takes me out.
Especially because the dub is always some
It's
weird
awful,
American.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's always some weird American. Hey, so what do you think we might be doing? And I'm just
You're thinking, what? That's wrong. So it took me ages to like figure. I was like, you know how you get like, get off. And I was feeling out. So I finally worked out how to get it in the Korean, and then I just ran out of time.
Yes.
So I watched half of the first episode, so I get the idea. It's set up though the first character, so I know I'll have to watch the rest of it to be able to view that as a entirety.
Yeah, I think Squid Game is one of those things where a bit like Bridgerton, where it's become such a big noise that I've gone off rubbish. I guess I'm going to have to watch this now just so I can see if it's overrated. All right, cool. So we will get around to those. We'll get around to talking about Chaos Walking and I Am All Girls. But first, let's talk Bond. Let's talk Daniel Craig. Let's talk No Time to Die. And now, but before we do that, this just reminds me. So I mentioned Taiwo, who we know is a regular listener. Not only is he a regular listener, he's actually reviewed us online on podcast, different places. Yes, he's given us good stars. He reviewed us on Facebook as well. And he regularly gets in touch to let us know what he thinks. So he sent me this, totally unsolicited on Saturday. And he said, "Loved the last podcast you did. Although I skipped the first 12 minutes to avoid 007 spoilers." So he's like, he has must be like about an 18-month-old now. He says, aiming for that to be the first movie that he and his wife see in cinema since the kid arrived. He says, "I particularly enjoyed imagining the beeping noise a truck makes whenever Shaun has to reverse away from a spoiler."
Yeah.
I also share in Sharon's horror/disdain at books being shot, blown up by the very librarians who should care for them.
No.
When we're talking about Gunpowder Milkshake, it's one of a list of many things that ruined the Fast and Furious multiverse for me. So, Shaun, you have I think he's ended up being a kindred spirit. I think he used to like the Fast and Furious universe and he now no longer likes it, but you just never liked it. So so we have that, so I don't know whether he's seen it now or anything like that, but I just wanted to let you know, as I said, anybody shows us any attention, we will pay it. We will give you a shout out on the show. So thank you very much, Taiwo, for that. Thank you very much for letting us know we're going in the right direction. And now let's see if we can talk about 007 without any beeping noises of Shaun furiously backing away from a spoiler. Okay, cool. So I'll tell you what. Let's kick off with Sharon. Sharon. So tell us, what did you think? Start off by telling me about what you thought about the Bond movie, and then towards the end, you can tell me how Sean's reaction was, and then we can go into Shaun.
Okay. How spoilery are we allowed to be? Are we going to be? Are we spoiler averse?
I think we're going to try and be spoiler averse. There's still people I know who haven't seen it yet. Like there's people who have had trouble with babysitters and stuff like who haven't seen it yet. So we're going to try and be as spoiler averse as possible and just talk about what we thought about it without saying much about what happens in the film.
Right, yeah. Yes. So that I felt that this was a more mature Bond, because with some Bonds, even though it's lasted 50 years, it's largely the continuation of the same story. So every now and then there are like nods to an earlier incarnation of our Bond, and I think this is the most Bond-like in that way, in that you get, there are references to earlier incarnations of Bond. There's some of the refrains in the music, there's some sort of Easter eggs, and that you see pictures or you see objects in the background that immediately bring to mind an earlier Bond, not necessarily played by Daniel Craig. So it references the fact that this is a character who's had a lifetime, and this is like the most recent event in that long life.
Yeah.
Even though the character himself is like permanently like 35, but I think this is the first Bond we've seen where you get the feeling that there is history behind this character, because often it's like they just brush it off and they're like, hey, I'm ready to take on the bad guys. And this one, you feel that he's carrying the weight of some of those previous experiences into the first film. So I thought that was an interesting approach, because normally Bond appears with a swagger. He sort of shoots someone, he kisses the girl, and then he like drives off in a fast car. And I think this is the first time that I've seen Bond where you get the feeling that there's something else, there's a history of this character.
Yeah, essentially he's more of a character than an action star.
Yes. He isn't just dusted off, brought out the cupboard for this particular adventure, that he has lived a life between these stories.
Yeah, so, I actually think, because I had Superfan Nina actually got in touch with me as well, and just asked the question, like, you know, after watching the film, she was asking all these questions about how about this, how about that. And I actually think that how much you like this film depends on how much you like that approach of making James Bond more of a character than an action star. And I think that there's going to be some people who are going to hate that because they want the kiss, kiss, bang, bang.
Yeah, they want Bond to be this sort of bulletproof, you know, on Her Majesty's Secret Service special agent who, you know, is known by every bartender in the world, yet still maintains his identity as a secret agent.
He's a secret agent, but everybody knows what his favorite drink is.
But he's just like, and all the girls turn there, and he's the most noticeable man in the bar. It's like, you know, everyone turns their heads and looks at him when he walks in. It's like, that's not what you want your special agents to be like.
Oh, man,
the most noticeable person in the room. So but I like that aspect of it personally, because I've always found most Bonds to be a little bit of a yawn fest for me personally, because I sit through them, and I am sitting through them. I don't actively, doesn't always draw me in, and I have got a whole gap of about 10-15 years I didn't watch any of them, from like For Your Eyes Only till about GoldenEye. I didn't see any, so there's a decade or more, and I think I've only seen one or two of the Brosnan Bonds.
Yeah, I haven't seen. I've seen clips. I'm exactly the same as you. The Man with the Golden Gun from. I mean, I really Roger Moore films. I think I might have seen Moonraker, but I've seen bits. But I just can't do Roger Moore. You know, we've had this discussion. I think over the years, Toes. Doesn't matter what we've done. We've had discussion about windscreen wipers. You know.
Roger Moore's eyebrows.
You know, Roger Moore's eyebrows.
Yeah.
So we've had that so many times. I did enjoy the Timothy Dalton ones. I thought that was more Bondy. I hated the I didn't really see them, so I couldn't really comment apart from seeing cars skidding on ice and becoming invisible, the Pierce Brosnan stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, didn't do
it. You know me. I have opinions, and I have like my opinions of all the different Bonds and what happened in them. But carry on. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm totally with Sharon on that. My knowledge of Bond, especially the Roger Moore era, you just as well.
Yep.
I wouldn't know. Couldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this felt modern, but it also felt nostalgic in a way that I think some of the scenery, especially, was reminiscent of earlier Bond films, where I was thinking, yeah, this has got that nostalgic value where you see the cars sweeping around the mountains, which to me
Yep.
was very
Yep.
like on Her Majesty's Secret Service. It
Yeah,
had
yeah.
those
There's
driving
a
around
shot.
with.
There's a shot early in the film, and they kind of hammer it up, and you're looking at it going, "Yeah, that's on Her Majesty's Secret Service."
Do you know?
And they
Do you
even
know?
play
I
the
think.
music, don't they?
I think I actually said it before the music come up. I think
Yeah,
I said
yeah,
it loud. Actually, to
exactly.
be honest,
Yeah.
I think I said on Her
Yeah.
Majesty's Secret Service. I was saving that to when Sharon had finished, and I was going to say exactly
Yeah.
the same.
Okay. So let's go
so-
to Sean. Sean, go. What did you think?
Okay, no, that's it was only that thing. The music, come on. I thought, so that shot, the shot of the windy road. For me, the first 20 minutes was like terrific. I loved the first 20 minutes. I liked the
pre-title sequence.
And I mean, really thought superb. My favorite character was the CIA woman who'd only had like 3 weeks training.
But sure, we know that you love Anna de Armas anyway. Every time she showed up on screen, all the way from Blade Runner 2049, you'd be like, oh my god, oh, love her.
But
I agree with you. Anna de Armas, she plays Paloma, I think her name is, the character's called. Yeah, I love her. I want to see more of that character. I want to see more of that character. Yeah, she's brilliant.
So yeah, the first 20 minutes was absolutely terrific. I think with the rest of the film, it had moments, but I didn't think it was a standout. It didn't stand out for me like, whoa, that's a really, I mean, I know it's been getting lots of good raves, but yeah, it was okay. It was, I didn't think it was like anything special really.
I wasn't terribly convinced by our bad guy, I have to admit.
No.
I think I've found more memorable baddies because I can't even remember his name, and I don't know if I even remembered it when I was watching it. But I didn't find him. His visually, yeah, he's got a look, definitely.
Yep.
But as soon as he took part of his disguise off, shall we say, I didn't find him as interesting.
Yeah,
I think he split a lot of people, haven't he? I was reading about that it's very half and half. Like some people think he's really good, and another half think that it's awful. Not a Bond villain at all.
Well, but this is the thing with this film, right? Because because my strap line when I talk about this film is that for me, I think it is possibly the best film starring a character called James Bond, but not necessarily the best Bond film.
No.
Because when you say Bond film, best Bond film, that becomes a very subjective thing. There's people who will swear by Sean Connery and will give you no reason why. They just say because it's Sean Connery, obviously. Yeah. And therefore, the best Bond film has to be a Sean Connery one, regardless of all. So yeah, there's all these different things that come up with that. And hang on, where was I going with this?
But not necessarily the best Bond film.
Yeah, and I think it's the same thing with the bad guys, and all that. And the truth is, bad guys in Bond films, they're there to sort of like, stay there in their lairs, stroke something, and then want to destroy the world for some very, very not well thought through plan.
Yeah, they're a boss level, aren't they?
Yeah, essentially. And I think this bad guy, Safin, his name, Sharon. Yes, Safin. I think that they've done more with him to try and link him into the story from the beginning. So, and I know they've been trying this. I mentioned about the Daniel Craig movies, and that with Daniel Craig movies, they've tried to have essentially this one storyline going through all 5 films. And he is the only Bond who's ever had that, where all the films are pretty much sequels, because most of the Bond films is kind of like, new film, what happened in the old film? Doesn't matter. What about that woman that Bond ended up with at the end of the film? Doesn't matter. What about that thing? Didn't Bond get shot in that? Doesn't matter, because it's pretty much each film is almost a reboot. But this is the only time when you followed it all the way through, and I think this was the most effective at actually pulling the story together. So like, when they said this guy is this connected, this person connected that person, this is why this story is happening, I thought it was actually the most effective. But some of the touches, I still say that the House of M, there's a shot that I call the House of M, where it has to do with pictures on the wall in the MI6.
Yes.
And I loved that.
I
was like, that is so classy.
That is a nod.
So dang classy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there were bits of this film that I was just kind of like, yep, love it, absolutely love it. I agree with you that there's bits where it drops a bit. There's a bit where it drops a bit. There's bits where it can't escape the fact that it's a Bond film. But I mean, the more I think about it, I was going to go see this again in the baby cinema with. Yeah, I was going to go see this at baby cinema, but unfortunately we got there and the tickets were sold out. But yeah, but when thinking back through the film, I still think, yeah, there were loads of things I loved about the film. I still maintain that I love the way it treats women. I love the way that the female characters, I want to see more of them. I want to see more of them. And I felt like everybody had something to do in the film. It was more of an ensemble piece. But so that being said, how many stars would you give it?
This is a tough one really. I mean, I think on the whole, I really I enjoyed it. And going on our criteria, I can't think there was anything too bad in it. So, and I think because of the first 20 minutes and the Majesty's Secret Service thing, I'm probably gonna have to give it a 4, actually, even though I said it wasn't good. I was probably gonna have to go for a 4. It was pretty well thought out, pretty well done.
Yeah.
So,
I think more than most Bond films. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah. Agree.
Sharon.
Yeah, I'd probably be a bit more cautious about my rating, just because I thought for me it was a bit too long, and I thought I would have preferred a bit more sharper editing. So I think some bits were a little bit indulgent maybe, and so I would say it was all right. I enjoyed it, but to me, I wouldn't want to see it again. So I would give it a 3.
All right, cool, good stuff. And I'm just looking through the things that Superfan Nina got in touch with me to say, and I'm looking through all the ones that I can say because there's a lot of spoilerific stuff in here. So, okay, let's see. She says that okay, I was talking about the fact that this is a bit different, and I said that there's 0 point in making a Bond film that's just filled with stuff that we've already seen before, and we know exactly where everything is going. I think there's 0 point in it because the Bond formula is tired. It's tired, and she agrees that yes, that she thinks it is a bit tired. Oh, well, her husband does, and she says yes, she loves the fact that the women weren't just damsel in distress, and she agrees with you, Sharon, that it was a little too long. And those are the things that Superfanina said that I can say that are not spoilers. That's the thing you can say that. All right, cool, good. So now quickly, let's go on to Sharon. I think we have about 7 minutes left on this recording because we're back to the whole thing where we haven't paid for Zoom, so it's gonna kick us off.
I'll keep it tight.
But yeah, so let's go. Chaos Walking. Tell us a little bit about Chaos Walking.
Chaos Walking is set in the future on a planet where the Earth has colonized this planet, and they've sent out these ships that take sort of decades to arrive. And the first ship has arrived, and when we first meet the characters, you can see and hear their inner voice, their thoughts. So when someone's sat there going, calm down, all stress out, don't stress out, you can hear that, but even though it's their internal monologue, and you can see the waves of energy coming off of them. It's like these green waves or different colors for different emotions. So there's nothing to be hidden. You can't hide anything. Every thought that you think is broadcast, and your emotions are broadcast. And only certain people are very good at controlling it. So there's one guy who's learned how to control it, played by Mads Mikkelsen, and he is like the leader of this particular area. And we see this village where Tom Holland's character lives with his dad, and it soon becomes noticeable that there are no women in this community. And a spaceship that has been scouting out for the next group of colonists to arrive has crashed on the planet, and Daisy Ridley's character ends up on this planet. And for Tom Holland's character, it's the first female he's ever seen. And for this community, they just haven't got any women in their community. And so it's trying to hide her and protect her while you're broadcasting your every thought. And some people, and Tom Holland's got this gift that if he thinks about something, he can actually create like this mind projection. So like he wants to play a trick on someone, and so he gets basically a snake to go at them, even though it's it's something out of his imagination, just to give someone a scare. And so you see this relationship as he basically tries to control his inner thoughts, even though he's saying, oh, I've never seen a girl before, what's it like? And so it's broadcasting his thoughts. So then the story progresses that she is found by this community, and then Tom Holland tries to help her escape. And they go on an adventure where it takes him outside of his community where he's never been before. And he begins to explore some aspects of his world that he was unaware of.
Ooh.
And some things that he thought he knew may not necessarily be the truth. It's been what he's been told may not necessarily be the actual full story.
Like, why is this a sausage fest? Why are there no more women around here?
He is told that this horrible other, so there's another species who live on the planet, and he was told that they basically created an illness and where all the women were killed.
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
they have not, where there's no women, no more children are born. That is what he's always believed.
This sounds a little bit like the first Maze Runner.
Yes, where they are in this environment, and then it's not necessarily what they see and what they experience is not necessarily the whole truth, and that's very much in this film. So what he's grown up surrounded by is not necessarily the facts about this world he lives on. And so it's an adventure story about this sort of boy and a girl basically who are fleeing from their community, who are then in pursuit, and you have different events happen as they on their journey. And we discover as we go more about the world and more about the community and the circumstances in which they find themselves.
Oh, right. Now, this is a film that was absolutely beset with production problems when they were making the film. And that's, if you go and look up Chaos Walking, a lot of stuff you hear about, oh, this didn't happen, and they were going to release the film, and then it didn't get released. And then I think it got caught up in the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. So everything, because I think it was made by the Weinstein Company. So everything that was mud. And then eventually the film got released, and in a very muted way. And people say that, what I've heard is that you can see the mess that happened with trying to make this film. What do you think about it? Do you, if you had to rate it, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say for such a, because I was surprised how I didn't know more about it, because it's got a good cast in there, and there's other people in it that I've heard of as well. Kurt Sutter, who's from Sons of Anarchy and Mayans, he's in it, has a role in it, and with Mads Mikkelsen, Tom Holland, there's Daisy Ridley, and so I was surprised that had just sort of appeared suddenly on a platform.
Yeah,
I could see it wasn't always coherent about what their story were telling, and you could see that some aspects weren't very well developed. They introduce aspects and then nothing happens with it. So like this alien species, they're introduced, and then we sort of get a glimpse of them, and then nothing happens with that whole storyline. So I can see that it maybe wasn't as polished as it could be, which is probably why it sort of will appear, and I imagine it will just disappear again. So it's a perfectly competent sort of piece of science fiction. I wonder if it's based on a book, because I think it probably made it more interesting.
It is based on a book.
Seeing, because even though it's like the visual representation of their thoughts, in some ways I think I'd rather actually read about this than see it. So I would say it's a 3. It's competent and it's entertaining for what it is, but to make it any better, it would need to be sort of, the storytelling need to be sharpened up. They'd need to have a better resolution and a better plot.
All right, cool. That is Chaos Walking Told. 3 out of 5. So of all the many things that you saw this week, Shaun, I have randomly said.
Decided,
I have decided. I have randomly picked. Okay, first of all, let's see. What would you talk about if you had a chance of all the things you saw this list?
I could talk about all of them, really. Pretty much to say, I saw a Korean movie, which was that was this afternoon. I sort of watched it this afternoon, actually, just before I come, and that was called "Deliver Us from Evil." Which, I mean, most Korean movies, I could go through all of them fairly quickly, because you know me. Most Korean movies, this was class. This was a really, really, to me, this was. I couldn't, my normal faulty, silly. Oh, that's silly. It did all right. A couple of bits. There was a bit of a silly car chase, which I didn't enjoy at the end, but the rest of it was really, really good. And basically, the story is, it's this Korean like cop has killed a godfather in Korea, but his daughter's been sort of kidnapped and it's gone to Thailand. So he goes to Thailand, but the son of the person he killed also goes to Thailand. So basically you've got a
I'll give you 2 minutes per film, Shaun.
Yeah, okay. So basically you've got a sort of cross between well, it's just like a John Wick film, a lot of an old boy. It's like there's a lot of action in it. He's just basically trying to hunt his daughter. He's being hunted by this thing. You've got the normal super Thai villains, which are really, really nasty, and it sort of crosses over after some Thais get killed. You get into the Thai Godfathers and the Thai police, and it's all very much. But I thought it was a great film. Really thoroughly enjoyed this movie. So this for me will get I don't know, the car chase at the end might have knocked it down a bit. The car chase at the end knocked it down a bit because that was a little bit over the top, and they survived quite a lot. So I'm going to give this one a 3, but it's well worth the watch. If you like a lot of action, if you liked it's very much John Wicky with, making sure with the double taps, lots of shooting going on, a bit more knife play and axe play and clubs play and a bit of throwing them about, a bit like the raid.
Yeah. But the truth is John Wick is very much influenced by by Asian cinema, Asian action cinema. Right. I think there's almost a line that you can draw from the raid to John Wick. And there's even a scene in John Wick 3 that is pretty straight out of there's a film called The Villainess.
Right. Oh, The Villainess. I've seen
that. Yes, you've seen that.
Really good.
It's really good. And it's the film that makes all of essentially everybody who's not Korean that I've seen has gone confused, because there's a bit where you can't tell two characters apart. You're like, which bit in the story are we now? And you can't get it. But there's a bit there's a bit in John Wick 3 that is straight out of The Villainess. Yes. It's influenced. Okay, so Deliverance from Evil, 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Yeah, it's a good Korean movie. It's worth a watch if you like that sort of shoot 'em ups, and it's not too silly. In fact, it's quite sensible. So if you can call a movie like that with people dying sensible, but there's not too much to sort of shock. Now I'll go on to I Am All Girls, because you mentioned this one. Yep. So this is basically South Africa. It's 90s South Africa. There's this videotape that's turned up about kidnapped like 6 girls, and they sort of disappeared, and then it's all forgotten about, and then it flashes to present day. And you see this person in a hoodie has got hold of these videotapes and watch these videotapes, and then it goes to this policewoman who's trying to crack down on this child trafficking gang, and she but then at the meantime, all of a sudden, all these people that were involved in this child trafficking, they end up dead, rather nasty, mutilated with the initials carved of the girls that have gone missing with each of the.
Oh, wow.
With all these, so then you've got this investigation about a serial killer killing all these people that are involved with. So it's sort of, they're trying to get 2 things. And yeah, it's pretty cool. You find out who the killer is fairly early. I mean, it comes out fairly early. It's not like you're waiting to see who the serial killer is. You do, because that's quite a big part of the narrative, really, is you really need to know that, because certain things get involved in too much. So yeah, it's pretty tense in parts. It's quite violent. It's quite in parts. It's quite violent in parts. And yeah, there's a bit like where something happens, but because like you get in these other places, warrants weren't issued, so certain people get off, and like they do. So obviously,
yeah. So is it based on a true story?
I don't actually know. I don't actually know if that's based on a true story or not, but it definitely takes part in South Africa. But it's worth a watch. It's pretty cool, and this will get, from me, this will get another 3 stars. So
and that was on Netflix.
That was on Netflix. That's on Netflix. Yeah, quite a new one on Netflix.
Where did you see Deliverance from Evil?
That was on Sky.
Okay, cool.
That was on Sky.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because that kind of storyline, obviously I'm from Nigeria, and there was the whole bring back a girls movement because a whole school of girls got kidnapped.
Yeah.
So that's
Haran, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. What's next, Shaun?
What's next? Right. Okay. What else have I watched?
So how many stars did you give I Am All Girls? Was that
so
3?
I gave 3. Yeah. So
okay, cool.
3. They both got 3s. 2 3s there. So,
all right. Cool.
Right. What else are we going to watch? Say then. Yeah. What else have I watched? I rewatched Greyhound, but we've already reviewed that, haven't we?
Yes.
And I watched Heat, rewatched Heat, which we've got loads of time, which we like that. I'm sure there's be some other stuff. I
think Heat was on TV recently, wasn't it?
It was on TV, yeah.
Because I remember walking past somewhere and just sort of seeing the scene with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in the diner.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's quite famous, isn't it? I might be able to. Let's have a look. Yeah. Oh, I watched Cold Mountain again. I'm just letting finish Cold Mountain, which I haven't actually. Do you know? I never saw that at the cinema. So I never saw that at the cinema. So, and obviously, like in the American Civil War, so it was much better than I remembered. But that was pretty good. Right. But I'm sure that's been reviewed, isn't it?
I don't think we ever did. I never
did Cold Mountain.
Even though
it predates our radio shows.
It does.
Yeah, but even though I remember that when we did the radio show, they don't make them like they used to. By the way, earlier this week, I was actually going back to my archives and I was listening to the interviews we did where we're asking people about what films that they saw
in the hospital.
The hospital. And I had like this literally like 30 interviews of random people that I interviewed about it. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is brilliant. So yeah, if you want to hear more of that, go search for They Don't Make Them Like They Used To, a podcast we no longer do, but has some gold in there, absolute gold in there. And
yeah,
but another one. We had a section called Isle of Movies where we're talking about things that were linked to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
And Cold Mountain was directed by Anthony Minghella, right?
That's right. Yes.
Who is an Isle of Wight boy?
He was born and raised here. Yeah.
What did you think of that, Sharon? Because
I liked Cold Mountain. I think that was in one of the gap between when one cinema closed and before Cineworld opened. And the only cinema we had was like a local theatre where they would run one film night a week. And I remember seeing Cold Mountain at Medina Theatre when they used to show films there. And I really rated it. I really liked it.
Right.
I thought Nicole Kidman she was supposed to be like this sort of young, almost like an ingenue who's been very sheltered and brought up by her father. And a few times I thought she looked older than her character, but I thought she was supposed to be sort of aging down. And sometimes I'd see her and I'm thinking, no, you're older than your character is supposed to be.
So on our star rating, what would you have given that your star rating?
Oh, I'd given it an easier 4.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to say I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the siege of Virginia at the start of the crater, the battle for the crater. That was, there was some good Civil War scenes in it. Yeah. Another thing I watched, but I think Sharon reviewed it, or did you? I mean, I get confused. Have you seen The King?
Yes.
Right, you have. Yeah, not the Outlaw King, The King.
The King is this
Henry V? Yeah.
Yeah, Kate and I both saw that.
Oh, yes.
We reviewed that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did review that. That's the one with Timothy Chalamet.
And I did catch up with the Tomorrow War, which I think Sharon
I did that with Chris Pratt.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, I would give that a 3-star. Nothing major. So
all right, so I'm going to use that as a jumping off point. I have to head off really, really soon.
Cool.
But you spoke about Timothy Chalamet, and that is a very, very easy segue into what we're going to talk about. Yes, we're going to talk about Dude. We're going to talk about Dude. So I have started. I was just telling you that I have a friend of the show, Yatish Palmer. He gifted me an audiobook. Of Dune, which I've listened. It's 26 hours long, but 26 hours long. I am currently about 8.5 hours in. So I'm just scratching the surface of this whole thing. But I have to admit, it has made my. It's one of these things that I started listening to the book, and I always kind of wish that I didn't know anything about the film, because now whenever I'm reading anything in the book, I'm seeing the people who are playing these characters in the film in my head. So every time they talk about Paul Atreides, I'm seeing Timothy Chalamet, I'm seeing Rebecca Ferguson as lead Jessica and all that. But even though I've been listening for 7 hours and I can tell that this thing is only just beginning. It's only just beginning.
Does that encompass all of the Dune books? Because does the audio book cover all of the Dune books? Because it's like Dune, then there's Children of Dune, Dune Messiah, and all the others.
No. This is just the first one.
Just the first one.
It's just 26 hours for the first one.
Golly.
Yeah, apparently it's a 600-page book. If you're reading it, so it's 26 hours for the first book, and the more I listen, the more I'm thinking, ooh, this would make this should be good, and especially because it's being done by Denis Villeneuve, who I rate massively. we're doing something intelligent. I think of that, but that's something that's coming up soon that we're going to go see. Shaun, you said that this weekend, after a 2-week break of like nothing in the cinemas.
Yeah.
You're going to essentially go and have like a gluttonous buffet.
Have a loving at the cinema.
I will. Definitely, totally.
So
totally,
tell us what is on your plate. What is going to be on your plate coming up?
Okay. Well, tomorrow I wouldn't mind seeing the Duel, and I also probably want to see Venom, and we've also got Halloween Kills. There's an unlimited showing of Dune on Monday.
It begins.
So it begins. So yeah, so we're starting there. So that's my weekend pretty much sorted, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, where's Shaun going to be in the cinema? All right, cool, good stuff. So Sharon, out of those things, what are you planning to see?
I would like to see The Last Duel and Dune, of those two, of those four of those ones. They're the two I would flag.
Yeah, I think for me, the Last Duel, Dune is well, I don't think that there's any special C. I don't have an unlimited card anymore, so I have no access to special C preview screenings.
Well, if I do go to watch it, would save that one until you guys have seen it. Yeah. So, yeah.
No,
so
don't worry, I'm still here.
Yeah. So what we'll do is I'll wait for you guys to see that before. I mean, I probably will go and see it, but I'll save that one. I would have seen enough anyway. So.
Well, I'll try to see it on Monday if I can. I'll see what my.
Okay.
Because I'm not working Monday, so it depends what time the film is and what time it ends.
7 o'clock. 7
well,
o'clock it starts.
That's doable. That's doable for me.
Yeah. 7 o'clock. So Joe's going, so he's already booked it, I think. So
yeah, you guys
be the normal seats.
Yeah, by that time I might have finished. If I do nothing else between now and then, I might finish listening to the book.
Yeah. yeah.
I did toy with reading it, but as you're influenced by the sort of images of this film, I watched the David Lynch film, and I actually quite liked it. I mean, I know some people hate it.
No, I don't mind the Lynch film,
but I actually quite rate it. And so for me, I would see Lady Jessica. I would see Francesca Annis, or whatever. No. Francesca Annis.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and Jürgen Prochnow and Max von Sydow, and I would see those of the faces that I would see rather than.
Who did Sting play?
Harkonnen, I think somebody. One of the Harkonnen.
Oh, he was probably the Beast.
Yeah.
He was probably the Beast. All right, cool.
I think that is the trouble. If you see a film and then you read the book, you picture the characters in the film, whereas if you read a book and then you go see the film, sometimes the characters are completely different to how you had them pictured.
And it was Carl McLachlan, wasn't it, who was Paul Atreides?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, cool. So anyway, on that note, on this kind of like cinema-less week, all that's left is we don't really have a winner.
No.
We don't really have a winner. Or I guess cinema kind of like, even though there's nothing yet, they still makes us want to talk about it and make us go, oh my God.
Well, I suppose if you averaged them up, what did it get? We got 7 stars by 2. How many stars did you give?
I gave Bond 3.
That's right, 3. I gave it 4 toes. What did you give it the other week? 4, wasn't it?
4, yeah.
You gave it a 4. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11 by 3. I'll let you do the maths. And then we had the 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, the Netflix stuff. So if we average that up, cinema's won.
I'm happy with that.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Masters of my strong suit, so yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to say that it's a total fix this week. So, but I also think that there's a bit of it where, bar a few things, there are a few things that I think you can get as excited about coming to a streaming platform as you can about the fact that Dune is coming to a big screen near you, and the fact, or even Marvel's The Eternals, which looks crazy. It's like it's funny that, but this is one of those cheesy moments where we say the power of cinema. But anyway. Until next week, where we go and luxuriate in some sandworms and have some spice, it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us.